all of these opportunities exist and are in the extended stay category that would allow anyone who wants to be able to build a very, very nice 6 and 7 figure situation for themselves in relatively little time.
Welcome to Side Hustle Hero, the show that is laser focused to inspire you to take action to start or to scale your side hustle income streams. I'm your host, Joan Posivy, author of The Way Success Works. In today's episode, I share with you part 2 of my conversation with real estate investor and founder of Cashflow Diary, Jay Massey. We open part 2 with Jay's perspective on ordinances and bylaws, the local rules and regulations that dictate where short-term rentals are allowed and where they're not, and why he's actually a fan of these rules. You'll also hear about often overlooked segments of the population that need extended stay accommodation. Opportunities to rent out your house or condo for day use to, for example, content creators, and other ways that you can earn money in the shared economy. Jay also talks about the most common oversights and mistakes made by people entering the short-term rental business. And he walks us through the numbers of what it takes to net $1,000 and $2,000 per month from your STR. Like part 1, this episode is ripe with light bulb moments. So here is part 2 of my conversation with side hustle hero, Jay Massey.
Here's what is common amongst the majority of the ordinances. The majority of the ordinances have a definition of what is a short-term rental. That definition is often different than the definition of that I'm using. And the key misunderstanding is that while, yes, the document is written in English, it has a different vocabulary. You need to go find out what they mean when they say short-term rental, vacation rental, or something of that. Transient housing is another popular phrase.
Right.
Because it typically includes some definition of how long the length of stay is. That length of stay is typically 28, 29, 30, 31 days or less.
Yes.
So when I start talking to individuals about housing medical professionals, which has been a need and still is in many locations. Yeah. Those medical professionals typically travel on 13-week contracts.
Right.
Guess what? It's not then, according to the ordinance. It's not short-term rental.
Correct.
And these are the small nuances that make all the difference and ultimately keep the opportunity around for the diligent and the ones who take the time to truly understand what this business is. And that's what gets me excited is that, watch this, the longer the stay, the more profitable. So all of these ordinances that everyone is like, oh no, Airbnb banned and this, that, and the other is actually forcing you to do the more profitable version of the business. So it is one of the most ironic things on the planet. So while, yes, look at the ordinances, but the main thing I'm saying is that it's a non-issue once you go to the extended stay model.
Okay. So that's where you're focusing now.
No, I still want to do the ones that I want to do both.
Okay.
I just don't limit myself to just jurisdictions with ordinances. We've got both going on. Of course, I do both. Both work. All of it works. But all I'm saying is every person within the sound of my voice can do it. There is a way to do it. For example, you've got your insurance companies, you got your movie production houses, because the crew has to stay somewhere. We've done a lot of that. If you live near a comedy club, you don't realize it, but the comics need a place to stay. If you're near a theater, not like movies, but the actual performing arts theater, when Hamilton comes to town, they need a place to stay. Yeah. I mean, there's just all of these opportunities exist and are in the extended stay category that would allow anyone who wants to to be able to build a very, very nice 6 and 7 figure situation for themselves in relatively little time.
And that's an excellent example of looking at something that a lot of people would perceive as an obstacle. Oh, I can't do short-term rentals in this place because they've got this 31-day barrier. But you're saying, no, let's take a look at where the opportunity is for that. So those are some
it's huge
examples of that.
If we really want to go there, just think about the government's need. The government, your city government, your state government, your federal government need for housing. Every time you hear of a hurricane, tornado, mudslide, those events that involve FEMA, those displaced individuals are staying in a short-term rental.
FEMA? What's FEMA?
The
the Canadian asks.
That's right. Oh my gosh. I was like, wait, did she just say that? So, okay. So when we have like large, we'll call them acts of God types of events, tornadoes that tear up cities and hurricanes that blow over entire neighborhoods, there's a government organization who's responsible for cleaning it up, helping the people find housing, all of that, what medical services, and our government pays for those individuals, ones who work for the organization and those displaced, to have a place to stay. So there are certain places in the United States, like Florida, has seasons of hurricanes.
Yes.
It's going to happen all the time. And these are things that are well outside of any of the ordinances that people are so concerned about. Everything you heard about Ukraine, all of those refugees, they're staying in short-term rentals on a government contract right now. We just don't realize it, think about it, or position ourselves to be able to benefit from it. All I'm saying is that the need is massive. It's huge. It's everywhere. And when you begin to take it to this level, it becomes very, very obvious that there's more than enough opportunity for everyone.
You mentioned the business can be 6 figures, 7 figures, but let's dial it back a little bit to the person that's just looking seriously to make a few $1,000s a month.
No, I have a hard time dialing. That's fine. Go ahead.
But if we go walk it back to the person that wants to, they're looking at earning a few $1,000s a month to start.
Okay.
Like, walk us through the numbers of how
you only need one bedroom.
They could do that. One bedroom?
Yeah. Because every bedroom is approximately $800 per month of net income when ran properly. So if all you want is $1,000 or $2,000, just divide by 800. That's going to tell you how many bedrooms you need. So if you wanted $2,000, you would need 3 bedrooms. That's going to get you close to $2,400 of net income. When I say net, I'm talking after the lease, after electricity, after all the fees, after net in your pocket income. Right. So that's either a 3-bedroom house or 3 1-bedroom units in an apartment building. Your choice. Right. It's based upon the number of bedrooms that you actually have in operation. Or you could take a vacant land, put 3 yurts on it. It would be the same thing. So that's really what I'm saying. The numbers to get there are relatively easy because it's such a supply and demand imbalance, which is why it's so accessible to so many of us, which is why it's hard for me to dial it back, because it's easy to get to $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Most people with the average household income in the United States today only need 7 bedrooms in operation, and at least one of the 2 people can stop working.
Okay. If somebody wanted to crunch the numbers in a general sense, what percentage of revenue do you typically set aside for expenses?
Got it. So the biggest expense obviously is going to be the lease, right? But right behind that is typically going to be your labor related expenses, like cleaning and utilities is really what that's going to be. Here's what I will say. I always start with double rent. always start with double rent as your revenue. So whatever rent is, multiply that by 2.
Sorry, as far as the lease amount, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. So just for round numbers, if you're leasing the property for $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. Your worst year, which should be your first year, you should be at around $24,000 annually on that property. $2,000 a month, 2,000 times 12. Now you should exceed
gross rental.
Yep.
Okay.
And you should have a net income of approximately 30% as worst case scenario.
Okay.
The 70% inside that 70% difference is your rent payment, and what's left it should be about the expenses, if that makes sense. So I'm setting aside 70% for all the stuff, whatever the stuff is.
Right.
And that because sometimes, we want to add special things to it, but that's generally how the numbers should fall. Now, over time, it should get better because there are times where we've got some, what are those? 400 square foot. I think it's about 15 square meters for the rest of you of space that is in Long Beach. There are times where those goes for $80 a night, and there are times where those goes for $300 a night. Oh. Same space.
Yeah.
And you learn when those times are, right?
Right.
And so if you have what we call tentpole or compression events, like a Super Bowl, that Super Bowl, if you have a Super Bowl, the NFL coming to your city.
Wow. Yeah.
That is, and I kid you not, if you've got enough units, you should literally net inside that week and definitely that weekend enough money to buy a house cash, period. Because it's crazy what happens with certain tentpole events. So certain artists and their concerts can do this.
Yes.
The Republican National Convention, Democratic National Convention, these types of events can crazy change how much people are willing. Oh, the presidential inaugurations.
Right.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Things change when stuff like that is happening, to where people are Olympics, World Cup, things change. So, those are very, very unique opportunities to capitalize on those events, which change all of the economics of the situation.
Yeah. I think one thing people are surprised by too is the increase in their insurance costs when it's gone from owner occupied to a rental. So I think that's something that you probably have your students look into.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, the increase of insurance costs should be easily offset. And I'll tell you one way that we like to do it. We use what is known as a damage fee waiver as opposed to a security deposit. A security deposit on your books is a liability. A damage fee waiver is earned income, right? And if you charge a damage fee waiver that say $79 or so, and you charge it for reservation, you quickly make up for any sort of insurance cost difference. And it doesn't have to be something that makes it feel like a penalty. But again, this is the difference between the amateur or hobbyist versus the professional. It's the difference between understanding what the business is and what it's not. And those things make all the difference in the profitability of the business because, well, if you're trying to make 100% of your income just from accommodation, well, that's why you're having trouble.
Because it's all these other add-ons that really make a difference. Like you were saying about
there's a reason Vegas gives away the room for free.
Right.
Because it's not about the room.
If you take a look at your net earnings of your property, what percentage is from these add-ons versus the raw rental?
Right now, we're in the process of increasing that, but it's probably a 60-40 split.
Okay. So 60% is all these add-ons and 40% from the
60-40 the other way. We're working. I want to get it down to where it's around 30%. When you have all of your extras, so think about it. Your internet, when you stay at a hotel, that it's extra per night. Car rental, that is also a per night. Food delivery can be additional as well, but that's not including things like babysitting, dog sitting, and many other services that your people need. right? And when you get it to that point, you should be able to give away a room for free and still be profitable. Because when you can do that, now you're no longer subject to the sensitivities of pricing, which gives you a strong competitive advantage when it comes to either a new operator coming in town or whatnot. It becomes very, very hard to beat the person who can do it for free.
And you can always be at the cutting edge of what you're offering because you've got that ability to add new offerings as new things are invented and created.
You're about to get me excited again, John. That's exactly my point. It's like, because here's what, what we haven't talked about? We haven't even scratched the surface of this thing because we haven't talked about the use case in industrial buildings, let alone commercial buildings, let alone the day use case, because there's lots of content being created and that content has to be created somewhere. And most people don't have the setup at home. So imagine being able to use a condo that you have during the day, renting it out by the hour to someone who is creating content. I mean, the use case, it's everywhere. It's really hard. I mean, and then you've got your co-working spaces. So this is the industrial space, right? Yep. So it's the same thing. It's everywhere. And it's like there's oceans of opportunity. This is what I mean when I say that. It's oceans of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. So you also mentioned wanting to purchase and or lease more hotel rooms or hotels.
Yes.
Is that with an eye to convert them into short-term rentals as well? Like physical renos? Because of course there's a lot of differences between just a hotel room and a typical Airbnb.
In some cases, if it's a non-flag hotel, yes, absolutely. But if it's a flag hotel, no. Either way it goes, though, marketing them better is the key. That's really what's missing over there. I think hoteliers in general are missing the mark because they lost touch with their customer. Because just think about it. When's the last time you had good Wi-Fi at a hotel? Right. Wi-Fi's been around a while. Yeah. How come you can't get that right? Come on now. They got enough money for it, but they still haven't gotten it right because they haven't had to get it right. Just like the taxis didn't have to get it right until Uber came. And now, where are the taxis?
Right. So a couple of unrelated questions, but components of what we've been talking about. What are some of the expenses that the newbie doesn't typically think of?
The first thing that came to my mind is a hairdryer. That's what mostly because you said doesn't think of, and it's the number one thing I forget the most.
Okay, fair enough.
So the things that it's always related to screening, safety, and security. Most people try to cut corners. It's fine to cut costs, just not corners. And because when you're cutting corners in this department, you open your business to a ton of liability and frustration from an operational perspective. So let me say this to say that's the biggest expense that I see people trying to cut around. Plus, they never budget enough for photos ever because they're still using their cell phones. I can tell who's using professional photography and who's not. It's clear to me. It literally says, "Ooh, opportunity" right here, and then there's please stop going to Craigslist to get your furniture. Get real stuff, okay? Because I know you're because the attitude is, "Ooh, I was able to put this whole unit together for 45 cents." That's okay, but what kind of experience are you giving?
Yes.
And that's the general issue is where you got to think through. It's not about the fact that you got to be able to put it together for so cheap. It's what kind of experience does that create? This is a review-based business. Every time you are trying to save dollars, you often are costing yourself hundreds, if not thousands, because of an increased labor cost. So that's number one. You're going to be put out of business because your labor costs are too high if you don't have the right screening, safety, security, and technology in your place. And then number two, your reviews are going to be horrible.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is as your reviews continue to grow, they're going to settle in at a certain point. It's going to be hard to move those stars up or down one way or the other. And you're going to be stuck with what's left over, right? Because that's what's going to happen. You're going to be stuck with what's left over, and what's left over is usually not the customer you want.
Right.
But it's the customer you can get, and you've earned it because you were trying to cut corners when you just did not think through the entire experience that you were delivering.
Right. Yeah. It's so much better to do it right from the first time. And then you get these 5-star reviews, and it's just so much fun. I recently sold a property that I did have as short-term rentals, and I can't tell you the number of people that commented on the home baked cookies. They went nuts for them. You know?
It's all, you're like, really? Cookies? Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'll keep doing it. But it makes, and those reviews make the difference.
Yeah.
When you understand your customer, they will pay for the experience. That's what they're paying for. They can go get it. Finding a bed, that's not the thing. It's the experience in the house or the building or at the property. That's what they're paying for. So give them an experience, even something as simple as cookies. Now, were they chocolate chip?
Chocolate chip oatmeal. They were really good.
Yeah.
And I can say that because I wasn't the one making them, but they were homemade. But just recently, I was having lunch with someone, and she mentioned that she's looking to buy a property in a market that I just sold in. And she said she wanted to use it for like 6 to 8 weeks in the summer on her own, but then short-term rental the rest of the year. And she said, quote, I would pay someone handsomely to look after running all that.
Yep.
So there's an opportunity that would jump into someone's lap to say, oh, okay, I'll do it. I'll lease the property from you. However, when those opportunities aren't showing up for people, what's the best way for someone to start seeking out some of these properties if they aren't looking at buying one for themselves?
Vacancies. You're looking for vacancy. Or if you have a 2-bedroom, use one of the bedrooms in your in your place, or find a place with a basement, because we've had many people start that way. They live they have a basement, they don't use it, they do whatever they want to do to it, and now the basement is where the guests stay, or especially in the United States, we're upzoning everywhere. So ADUs, accessory dwelling units. Add one of those to and some look. Add an ADU to somebody else's property, and then use that. So either way it goes, the opportunity is great. Get some vacant land and go buy some tents. Yurts is really what they are. But and go do that.
Yes.
That too would also work. But again, remember what I said. This concept is not exclusive to just space. Use your car. We do. Use your car. Go talk to a car dealership. You know what? People who test drive cars tend to buy that car. That's all I'm saying. And there are certain cars out there that are cachet that just test drive. And that's what people want to do sometimes. And they will pay. I have had people pay to rent the Tesla for 2 or 3 days just because they were like, I was thinking about buying one. I'm like, thanks for the $300.
I missed the disconnect between talking to the car dealership.
Well, because people test drive the car.
Yeah.
So before they buy it,
right.
Dealers is in the business of selling cars. So give me the car. I'll get people to test drive it. And when they say they want to buy it, I'm sending them to you. It's the same deal with like the furniture company. It's no different. And because dealers want to get more people test driving cars. Right. They want more. They want to sell more cars. Well, great. If I get more people driving more of your cars, guess what they're going to do? They're going to end up buying them.
So you found a Tesla car dealer that will give you a Tesla that you can rent to your short-term rental people?
I actually ended up buying them instead, but there's just more value in owning the car.
Okay. You get to drive it too. Situation.
So I ended up with multiple Teslas. So yes, but that's my point. So you discover, I didn't know that at the beginning. I'm discovering all this stuff as we go. It's like, oh, cool. This is great. So it's another way of saying, if you could own a Tesla for free or have it pay you, would you? The answer is yes. Why not? And those are the types of things that I'm saying. I mean, and all of this, and you don't have to have a Tesla, okay? Because this one's really going to mess with you. Instacart, Uber Eats, Lyft, these, all of those drivers.
Yes.
I said drivers. You know what they need? A car. Be the person who leases a car to the driver who's driving for Uber.
Yes.
Instacart. There's so much opportunity.
Yeah. And some of those platforms do offer leasing programs. So you'd have to somehow
and some of those
create a better deal.
Actually looking for more people to, instead of the platform leasing the car directly to them, looking for more people like you and I to lease cars to their drivers.
Nice. Well, what's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, Jay?
We are at Cashflow Diary, everywhere. So whether that's TikTok, Instagram, Clubhouse, Facebook. And if you want to get started, one of the things that we do is we produce a significant amount of free content, but also we have what we affectionately call the blueprint. It's cashflowdiary.com/blueprint. It'll teach you how to get your first short-term rental. And that's all you got to do. Follow it.
That sounds like a terrific offer, Jay. And we'll definitely make sure that that's in the show notes.
Yeah, we try to help.
Well, clearly, Jay, you know about taking action. So what's your best tip to inspire others to pursue their side hustle dream?
Fail fast, fail forward, fail frequently, and start before you're ready. The process of failure is actually a skill. It's a skill that you actually know because there was a time in your life where all you saw were these really huge beings walking around on two legs, but you didn't know it was walking at that time. You only knew that you wanted to do it. And what happened is you tried and you failed, but you didn't process it as I'm a failure.
Right.
In fact, other people around you were cheering and you said, oh, cool, I'll do it again. And you failed. And in fact, they even incentivized you, bribed you with a cookie, probably across the room. And then one day you took steps and you rejoiced, and so did they, but you wanted a cookie and you were excited. And now today you can walk. So it's not something that's foreign to you. It's just that you've processed lots of failure events improperly, and they cause you to now freeze. And ready is a lie. What is ready? Don't focus on being ready. Focus on being prepared. Being prepared simply means that I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm not going to let it freak me out. And I'm still going to keep going. Because never have you ever waited till all the lights to be green before you went to the grocery store. You just said, I'm going to the grocery store. And if you encountered a detour or a red light, you didn't turn around and go home and starve. You decided to keep going because, hey, I'd like to eat. And if you can keep those things in the forefront of your mind, you might surprise yourself with what you're able to accomplish.
Might even surprise yourself.
I have. I keep doing it. I told you. I just wanted to eat. I didn't know this was going to happen.
Right. That's quite a journey you've been on, Jay. Thank you so much for sharing it and for sharing your expertise in the real estate space and really opening up our eyes to different opportunities that clearly so many people have missed. And of course, want to thank you for being today's Side Hustle Hero.
Thank you, Joan.
I particularly appreciated the fail forward component of Jay's fail fast, fail forward, fail frequently, and start before you're ready success tip. It reminds us to not let a quote unquote failure stop us or shut us down. While in the moment, it can be hard to take. But once you're able to pick yourself up and brush yourself off, take a look at the situation and analyze it. What went right? What do you want to repeat? And what would you do differently in the future? In other words, what's the lesson? What's the takeaway? You want to consider both sides, what went right and how would you improve things the next time? That attitude and action will keep you propelling forward, and you'll be that much wiser for whatever you face in the future as your deals get bigger and they have more zeros. Well, that's a wrap for today. You'll find a link to Jay's website and social media in the show notes and on our website, sidehustleheropodcast.com. And I'd love to hear your feedback on the show, on the guests, how this podcast is helping you. What areas could we do better? Shoot me an email message to hello@joanposivy.com or by DM on Instagram @JoanPosivy. Thanks for listening and hustle on.